In Vanuatu, magic reigns supreme. Nobody doubts its existence or its power.
Authorities were never supposed to release the footage, yet within hours, the world was watching shadowy figures vanish inside Vanuatu's jungle. Some believe the video revealed one of the last isolated tribes on Earth. Others warned it was proof that outsiders had crossed a boundary they were never meant to approach. As the footage spread online, questions grew darker. But why were officials refusing to speak? And what exactly was seen beneath those jungles? And why do these people seem desperate to stay hidden? Jungle shadows caught on camera. Late one afternoon, a small drone crossed above a heavily restricted island in Vanuatu, recording footage its operators never expected to capture. The device moved quietly over the thick jungle canopy before several figures suddenly appeared beneath the trees. The video was unstable and grainy, yet the shapes were unmistakably human. Some appeared covered in paint, while others carried long objects that observers later described as spears or tools. For only a few seconds, the camera captured the group moving through a narrow clearing before one individual abruptly looked upward directly toward the drone itself. What happened next transformed the footage into an international mystery. The figures scattered almost instantly, disappearing into dense vegetation with alarming speed despite the rough terrain surrounding them. The drone operator later claimed the reaction felt immediate and organized, as if the group already understood the danger of being seen. Within hours, short clips leaked online, spreading rapidly across social media platforms and triggering fierce debate. Some viewers insisted the footage was fabricated for attention, pointing to the poor image quality and lack of official confirmation. Others believed the recording may have revealed one of the last completely isolated communities anywhere in the Pacific. As attention intensified, questions surrounding the island only deepened the tension. Local residents reportedly warned outsiders against approaching certain regions, describing areas where visitors were never welcomed. Researchers familiar with Vanuatu's remote islands explained that several territories remain difficult to access because of dense jungle, volcanic landscapes, and long-standing cultural restrictions. Government officials refused to identify the locations shown in the footage and declined repeated requests for clarification. That silence immediately fueled suspicion online, with some believing authorities were protecting vulnerable communities, while others argued something more troubling was being hidden from public view. Experts later warned that even brief exposure could place isolated tribes in danger through disease, exploitation, or unwanted global attention. Yet the strongest mystery remained unanswered. If the people in the footage truly wanted isolation, how did they recognize the drone so quickly? And why did they vanish like they had prepared for this moment long before cameras arrived? That uncertainty turned a brief recording into something larger than a viral clip. The footage no longer represented discovery. It raised the possibility that hidden communities were aware of the modern world and fighting to remain beyond its reach before outsiders could destroy them. After the footage surfaced, deeper questions began emerging beneath the surface. Was the tribe reacting to something already watching them? Or did the drone trigger a chain of events nobody anticipated? And what truth are authorities desperate to keep buried in silence? Let's find out. Secrets hidden beyond Vanuatu's shores. The mystery surrounding the footage quickly shifted away from the drone itself and toward the islands hidden across northern Vanuatu. Scattered across the Pacific, many of these islands remain difficult to reach even today, surrounded by rough waters, volcanic cliffs, and dense jungle that blocks visibility from both the sea and the air. Some regions have almost no modern infrastructure, while others remain protected by cultural restrictions that outsiders rarely question. For generations, nearby villagers have reportedly avoided certain territories entirely, warning fishermen and travelers not to approach isolated shorelines after dark. As online interest in the footage intensified, old stories from the region began resurfacing. Local accounts described outsiders arriving without permission and facing immediate hostility from groups hidden deep within the jungle. Some stories claimed boats were chased away before reaching shore, while others spoke of warning fires appearing along the coastline whenever strangers entered restricted waters. Though many accounts could not be independently confirmed, they reflected a long-standing belief that hidden communities still existed beyond public view. Researchers familiar with Vanuatu explained that isolation in the region was not impossible. Several islands contain thick volcanic forests, so dense that satellite images often reveal little beyond endless green canopy. In some areas, mountain ridges and heavy cloud cover create natural blind spots that make surveillance extremely difficult. Anthropologists also pointed to government policies designed to protect indigenous populations from forced contact, disease, and exploitation. Officials rarely discussed specific locations publicly, but restrictions on travel to certain islands only fueled further suspicion. That secrecy created growing tension around the viral footage. Some observers believed authorities were simply protecting vulnerable tribes from global attention. Others questioned whether the silence suggested something larger was being concealed. The fact that nearby residents already seemed aware of hidden groups made the situation even more unsettling. If local communities had quietly accepted their existence for decades, then the drone footage may not have revealed a new discovery at all. Instead, it hinted that entire parts of Vanuatu had remained intentionally hidden from the modern world, protected not only by geography, but by silence, fear, and an unspoken agreement to leave certain islands completely alone. The pattern became undeniable. Every warning, restriction, and unanswered question pointed toward the same disturbing possibility. Someone had spent years ensuring these remote communities remained invisible, and outsiders were never supposed to cross those boundaries. With entire islands sealed off and warnings passed down for generations, the question deepens. What is really hidden in Vanuatu's northern reaches, and who is protecting it? Are these forgotten communities, or something far more organized? And why has no one ever returned unchanged? Keep watching. Fear passed through generations quietly. As investigators searched for answers behind the mysterious footage from Vanuatu, attention slowly turned toward a more uncomfortable possibility. The people captured beneath the jungle canopy may not have been hiding because of superstition or aggression alone. Their fear of outsiders could have been shaped by generations of painful experience. Historians and anthropologists studying isolated communities across the Pacific have repeatedly documented what happens when remote tribes suddenly encounter the modern world. In many cases, the results were catastrophic. Long before drones and social media existed, outside contact often brought deadly consequences to indigenous populations. Diseases carried unknowingly by explorers, traders, missionaries, and colonizers devastated communities that had no immunity to common illnesses. Entire villages disappeared within weeks after first encounters. In some regions, survivors abandoned their homes permanently, moving deeper into forests or isolated islands to escape further contact. Researchers explained that fear of strangers was not irrational behavior. For many isolated groups, avoiding outsiders became a method of survival passed carefully from one generation to another. The destruction was not always caused by disease alone. Missionary campaigns and colonial expansion frequently erased traditional languages, rituals, and leadership structures. Children were separated from cultural practices that had defined their communities for centuries. Oral histories from remote Pacific regions described sacred lands being occupied and traditional systems collapsing after foreign influence arrived. Those historical memories continued shaping how some communities viewed the outside world, even decades later. That context changed how many experts interpreted the drone footage from Vanuatu. The tribe's rapid disappearance no longer appeared to be simple panic. Some anthropologists suggested the reaction looked learned and deliberate, almost like a practiced emergency response taught from childhood. Younger members may have been raised to recognize aircraft, boats, or unfamiliar sounds as immediate danger. Others warned against romanticizing the situation, arguing there was still no proof the group was completely isolated. Yet the emotional meaning behind the footage had clearly shifted. The people seen running beneath those trees were no longer viewed only as mysterious figures hidden from civilization. They appeared to be survivors, protecting themselves from a world they had every reason to distrust. That realization deepened the mystery surrounding the islands because it suggested the tribe was not simply hiding from discovery. They might have been hiding from history, repeating itself once again. And that possibility made contact attempts feel far more dangerous. Is it really mystery or memory written in fear? What happened the last time outsiders arrived, and why does every generation seem to remember it differently? And if contact once destroyed everything, what makes anyone think it won't happen again? Stay with us. Voyage into forbidden jungle waters. The viral footage from Vanuatu eventually attracted more than online curiosity. A small group of wealthy content creators and amateur explorers decided to organize a private expedition aimed at locating the hidden community captured by the drone. Convinced the footage represented one of the world's last isolated tribes, they believed reaching the island could expose a story no documentary crew had ever confirmed publicly. But before the journey even began, warning signs started appearing around them. Several local boat operators reportedly refused to transport the group anywhere near the restricted islands. Some declined without explanation, while others warned that certain territories were never meant to be approached. According to later accounts from the expedition team, the atmosphere surrounding the islands felt tense long before they reached the shoreline. Villagers avoided discussing specific locations, and conversations reportedly ended whenever the hidden tribe was mentioned directly. Despite the resistance, the team eventually secured transportation and entered waters close to the suspected region shown in the footage. The situation quickly became unsettling after their arrival. Strange markings were allegedly discovered near the beach where the group established a temporary campsite. One crew member later described finding disturbed sand and objects moved overnight without any signs of theft. At first, the team dismissed the incidents as paranoia caused by isolation and exhaustion. But tension escalated when pieces of equipment reportedly disappeared or stopped functioning entirely. Drone signals began cutting out abruptly above the jungle canopy, even during clear weather conditions. The failures became so consistent that several members believed someone on the island was intentionally tracking their movements. As days passed, fear slowly replaced excitement. One explorer claimed the group constantly felt watched from deep inside the trees, especially after sunset, when movement could allegedly be heard beyond the edge of camp. Yet despite those fears, no direct confrontation ever occurred. That absence only deepened the unease. Some believed hidden observers were deliberately avoiding contact while silently warning outsiders to leave. Others argued the expedition members may have exaggerated events after panic spread through the group. Still, even skeptics admitted the sudden equipment failures and abandoned campsites created disturbing questions. Eventually, the mission collapsed under growing pressure and confusion. The explorers left the islands without locating the tribe or confirming who had been watching them from the jungle, but their experience changed the entire story surrounding the footage. What began as internet speculation had now become something more dangerous. The mystery no longer existed only online. People had entered those islands searching for answers and returned convinced they were never alone there. But what truly unfolded after the expedition entered the jungle? And why did every local refuse to return with them? What was really watching the team from the tree line? And how did their equipment vanish so precisely before they could escape without warning or explanation? Stay tuned. Echoes behind official government walls. After the Vanuatu footage spread across social media, the story quickly moved beyond online debate and entered a far more serious space. Millions of viewers shared and analyzed the clips, while theories multiplied about what had actually been captured deep in the jungle. As attention grew, government agencies in Vanuatu began refusing interviews, avoiding direct answers about the location or the people seen in the recording. At the same time, several online versions of the footage reportedly disappeared, and digital maps of certain regions were suddenly harder to access. Some users claimed that access restrictions were quietly introduced, suggesting that entering specific islands had become officially discouraged or even prohibited. Researchers familiar with the region also reported pressure to avoid speaking publicly about any isolated communities or related findings. That silence created a growing divide between official statements and public curiosity, with many questioning what was being protected and why. While some experts argued the secrecy was necessary to protect vulnerable populations from unwanted contact, others saw a different possibility. Rumors began circulating online that officials had previously encountered the same tribe during earlier, unreported expeditions into restricted territory. These claims were never confirmed, but the lack of denial from authorities only deepened suspicion among viewers and researchers alike. Each unanswered question pushed the story further from a simple viral mystery and closer to something involving deeper institutional awareness. As the jungle footage continued to circulate, it became less about what was seen and more about what was being hidden. In the absence of clear answers, speculation filled the gaps, turning uncertainty into a narrative shaped by fear and silence. What started as a short clip from a remote island had now evolved into a question about authority, control, and truth itself. The deeper the investigation went, the more it suggested that the mystery might extend far beyond the jungle canopy. By this point, the silence surrounding Vanuatu's remote islands had become as powerful as the footage that started everything. And with every unanswered question, the sense grew stronger that the world was only seeing a carefully limited version of reality. The mystery no longer stayed within the jungle itself, but expanded into institutions, decisions, and long-standing boundaries of secrecy. It left audiences wondering whether the real story was not about what the tribe was doing, but about who was controlling information outside itself. Why are entire governments suddenly erasing every trace of the footage, and what are they trying to keep hidden? Did officials really step into the forbidden zone before? And why are researchers being forced into silence at this exact moment? Stay glued. Eyes that watch the jungle. As the investigation deepened in Vanuatu, new details began to suggest that the unknown tribe may have been aware of outsiders long before the drone footage ever appeared. Reports from earlier expedition attempts described boats being followed from a distance, with observers claiming they noticed movement along the shoreline that matched their course. In several cases, crews also returned to find their camp subtly disturbed, with objects shifted or repositioned, despite no clear signs of theft or forced entry. More unsettling were accounts of fires seen on distant ridges shortly after outsiders entered restricted zones, as if signaling or monitoring their presence. Alongside this, tribal markings were reportedly discovered near abandoned equipment, adding to fears that the group was tracking movements across their territory. Experts studying isolated populations explained that such groups can develop highly sensitive awareness of human intrusion, using environmental cues to monitor activity silently. This interpretation led to a more unsettling attempt, that the tribe may not have been hiding blindly, but instead carefully observing every approach. If true, the drone footage might not represent discovery at all, but a moment where the tribe allowed itself to be seen briefly. That possibility reversed the entire understanding of the situation, shifting the question from how they were found to why they were noticed. From this perspective, the observers and the observed began to blur, creating a psychological tension that suggested both sides were aware of each other. In that uncertainty, the mystery of Vanuatu grew darker, as it was no longer clear who held control over the encounters taking place. What began as an investigation into a hidden tribe now appeared to be something far more complex, where observation itself had become a form of power, and with every new detail uncovered, the line between fear and curiosity continued to dissolve, leaving only one question that still had no answer. At this stage, the story no longer centers on a simple encounter in the jungle, but on a deeper uncertainty about surveillance, intent, and awareness on both sides. Each new clue suggested that movement through the terrain was being noticed in real time, and every action taken by outsiders may have been observed long before it was understood. This growing uncertainty turned the entire expedition narrative into a question of mutual awareness, where even silence felt like communication across the forest divide that still remains completely unresolved. But if the tribe was never truly hidden, what have we actually been stepping into? Were they watching every movement from the shadows, or guiding it all along? And most importantly, what happens when observers finally decide to reveal themselves? And who is truly trapped now? Let's find out. The secret beneath the silence. After the Vanuatu footage spread globally, the investigation reached its most uncomfortable stage, shifting from discovery to debate about whether the tribe should ever be found at all. Ethical discussions intensified as experts and commentators warned that uncontacted tribes face extreme risks when exposed to modern contact. These risks include disease, cultural collapse, and exploitation, all of which have been documented in past first contact encounters across remote regions. Some experts specifically warned that viral attention itself could become dangerous, turning curiosity into a force capable of harming isolated communities. After the footage leaked online, reports suggested the tribe was no longer seen in any confirmed sightings. No official confirmation or visual evidence has emerged since the original recording, deepening the uncertainty surrounding their existence. One emerging theory proposed that the tribe may have deliberately erased traces of themselves to avoid further detection. This idea added a new layer of interpretation, suggesting not disappearance by chance, but controlled withdrawal from outside attention. As debate continued, the story became less about finding answers and more about the moral cost of seeking them. Some questioned whether continued pursuit of the tribe would protect truth or destroy a fragile way of life. The uncertainty left researchers divided, with no clear agreement on what responsibility outsiders should take moving forward. In the absence of new sightings, the mystery only deepened, as silence replaced every attempted explanation. Some believed this silence confirmed that the tribe had chosen isolation as a permanent survival strategy. The question remained unresolved: were they hiding from the world or surviving because of it? Ultimately, the story of the Vanuatu tribe evolved into something larger than a single recording, becoming a reflection of how modern curiosity collides with isolation, history, and the limits of understanding. It raised uncomfortable questions about whether discovery always means progress, or whether some parts of the world remain safer when they are left unseen. For officials, researchers, and the public, the absence of clarity became more powerful than any evidence, shaping theories that continued to grow without confirmation. In the end, the silence surrounding the islands of Vanuatu transformed into its own kind of message, suggesting that whatever exists there may be choosing invisibility not as mystery but as survival. Until proven otherwise, their story remains an unanswered question, suspended between curiosity and respect for a world that refuses to be found. So, what do you think? Do you believe the tribe is truly avoiding contact, or is something deeper going on? We'd love to hear thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe now.